We're good.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Bill Clifford, Chairman of the Phoenix County Commission. Sorry to not dress up like the rest of you, but some of us have a day job, and I've been operating already this morning and have a dozen surgeries to do when I return. Appreciate the turnout here this morning. Really appreciate our federal officials who changed their schedules to be here. So I'll welcome Senator Moran, Representative Marshall, and Mr. Jim Lanes representing Senator Roberts' office. In addition, we have Senator John Dahl here, Representative Russ Jennings, and Representative John Wheeler. Appreciate you all coming out, fellow commissioners from the county and fellow public officials from the city and others. As you all are well aware, we had a fire here over the weekend in Phoenix County, but not just any fire, a fire that could have involved serious loss of life and injury, a fire that could have put 3,000 people out of work, and a potential for an economic blowback, which would have had lasting consequences for our county and for our cities. But for many of us who were here in 2000, to quote a 60s aphorism, it was sort of deja vu all over again, Friday night and Saturday. But this time it has a different feel. Excuse me. I will have a different ending. This time we used the lessons from 2000 to effect a coordinated response of our first responders, our firemen, our EMS, police, the emergency managers, sheriff and highway patrol. This time we had leaders and managers who, though some new in their positions, had been well trained by their predecessors. Chief Rick Collins was ready because Alan Shelton had prepared him. Emergency Manager Anthony Cruz was ready because the late Gilbert Valerio had prepared him. And they were ably assisted by some of our older, somewhat bolder heads around here, like City Manager Matt Allen, Sheriff Kevin Baskew, and the less hair-challenged Chief Mike Oots. We also enjoy an unprecedented level of interagency and public entity cooperation here in Phoenix County. When it was appeared that water was needed to support the firemen, our Public Works Director, Roger Calkins, was ready to provide tankers to the Garden City Fire Department to provide water. When buses were needed to evacuate Tyson workers, Steve Carlin, USD 457, provided buses to evacuate employees to Dr. Meyer's Holcomb USD 363 schools. And when the Phoenix County Sheriff and Kansas Highway Patrol were out handling traffic, the Garden City Police Department ensured plant security and was the source for public information release. I'd also like to thank Governor Kelly, who immediately flew Commerce Secretary Tolan and Ag Secretary Beam here on Saturday to do an on-site visit to see what they could provide in the way of state assistance. And we're also expecting the governor here in the next few days. Also appreciate our federal officials and their staffs who've changed their always busy schedules to be with us this morning. I want to acknowledge the actions of certain individuals and the many private businesses who helped out. A special thanks to Lana Duval, who's been a point of contact for all of us government officials, whether it's state, federal, or local. She's also our lifeline to the Tyson plant manager, Tony Lang, who will only talk to Lana. I'd also like to acknowledge Micah Bunch, president of the Garden City Area Chamber of Commerce. Working with Tyson manager Pat Sanders, they ensured the well-being of not just the Tyson employees, but also the first responders. I also have a list of businesses, and I'm sure I'll overlook some people, but there was generous outpouring support from Walmart, Sam's Club, McDonald's East, Subway at Holcomb, at Love's, Daylight Donuts and Pizza Hut, Jack's Sports Grill, Domino's Pizza, Lewis Motors, Schefter's Water, Garden City Boxing Club, Robinson Oil, and of course Finney County United Way and Finney County Red Cross. I'm sure many others also helped in many unknown ways. This time's different. I'm particularly grateful to Tyson and their outstanding ownership and leadership and management team. This company is determined to repair, rebuild, and reopen on the fast track, and we in Finney County would try to stay out of their way and facilitate everything from inspections to permits. This company is working to ensure the well-being of their employees. There are 3,000 employees who were threatened with loss of their jobs and all the ancillary businesses involved in the beef processing industry. This company is also determined to continue their partnership here with us in this wonderful economic partnership of Finney County, Garden City, and Holcomb. This event reminds us that we're all in this together. We've been blessed to be at this place, at this moment. Thank you all for being here today. Our agenda this morning, Lana Duval will make a few remarks, and then Chief Rick Collins will talk about the events related to the incident. We'll hear from Senator Moran, Congressman Marshall, and Pat Roberts representative, Mr. Lane, and then if we still have time, we have our state delegates here who are welcome to give a few words. So I'll ask Lana Duval to come to the podium. Thanks, Lana.
Thank you.
Good morning. Tyson Management, local management, Tony Lang, did ask that I express to you. He said he'd like for me to apologize to you all, but he's real busy rebuilding a plant, and I said there are no apologies. That's exactly where we want you. As much as we like you and love seeing your pretty face, build a plant, we'll worry about this. So he did ask that I let you know how very much he appreciates you being here, as well as all of you, all of the tremendous support they got from our first responders. So there you go. Tyson says thank you, and they are certainly going to make their plan available for you folks to go and see as soon as they have it back in order. So besides that, I would also like to mention Senator Roberts did call me yesterday morning, and he wanted to make sure that you knew that the chairman of the Ag Committee stands with Tyson, stands with Finney County, and if there's anything in the world he can do for us, he's made himself available to do that. He's sorry he couldn't be here himself, but didn't have the luxury of being able to do that. So did want me to share with you that he did call and he does care. So with that, we'll turn it over to Interim Chief Rick Collins, the hero.
Thank you. I'm by far no hero. I have a very excellent crew that stood behind me and supported me. Battalion Chief Sear helped with the operation, and without his expertise and the expertise of the other firemen of Garden City, we wouldn't be where we are right now. This is a picture of the plant before the fire. As you can see, it's a very large area in which to cover. We ran 2 sets of command because Chief Sear was on the north and on the roof. I was on the ground and in the back. Our fire was right in this area right here. And this is all the fire that there was, regardless of how fantastic the pictures were and how much the building totally was consumed. We're here to tell you, no, it wasn't. And the amount of fire that Chief Sear had when he arrived, I'm sure through conversations I've had with him, he thought about the same thing that the newspaper did. But fortunately, it was much less. Our fire tactics began, like I said, Chief Sear was mainly in this area. When he wasn't in this area, he was hoofing it from here, around to here, over here. And this is the area in which I was. This is about a block long mezzanine that we were trying to keep fire out of, and that would have kept it from spreading to the rest of the plant. The only setback we had, and it was unbeknownst to us, and it was just normal operating for the Tyson plant, over here on the cut floor, at midnight, when they go in to clean, they turn on exhaust fans. Well, unfortunately, it brought all of Ken's bad smoke down this hallway, and Ken and I got really worried. I'm not gonna lie. We redevised another game plan, went in for a second try, and about an hour, hour and a half into our plan B, the maintenance man come up and he goes, "Our bad, we turned on the exhaust fans." Okay, what's this mean? Well, that's what sucked all that smoke down the mezzanine. So, and that was part of our saving grace. Otherwise, it was a pretty simple fire. It was a rooming, what we call a rooming content fire. One room inside a large building, and it was just a normal day at the office for us. Questions?
How many firemen were involved? How many trucks were involved? Any injuries, or any fire inhalation issues, smoke inhalation issues from you guys?
No, we were very fortunate. We had no injuries or loss of life from either Tyson employees or our firefighters or any of the emergency responders. Finney County EMS kept the emergency responders in check, kept checking on us. Wanted to know if we need anything, and by the way, here's a bottle of water, and we would go back to work. Number of trucks, we had 4. Yeah, 4. 2 ladder trucks, 2 pumpers that we were able to utilize. And manpower wise, we probably had 18 on the ground there at that point in time. Well, shortly after, when we started calling back crews. It takes time. We run a crew of 11 men a day. I'm not sure, I didn't check to see if Ken had somebody on vacation or not, but we managed to get our crews back in. Decide what we're gonna bring out, who we need to bring out, depends on their level of expertise. We have to we can't take all the experts out of town and leave all the new guys in town. So we have to leave some of our other firefighters back at the station in case we have a second fire, another call, a rescue, or we need help. So Ken and I looked at the list and we kind of picked and chose, and as we rotated, we tried to get important people that could replace important people, and not that they're not all important, but you know, as it goes along, we do have some guys that have more expertise, technical rescue team, hazmat team, and we tried to judge and mix a good group along with the regular firefighters.
I know Matt and the city commission, the county commission tried to give you everything you need. As you fought this fire, was there something you said, my gosh, I wish we had something, this one other piece of equipment to do our job?
No, not really. Manpower is always the biggest thing. And you wonder when your manpower is gonna run out. We're not like the rest of the cities around. We don't have mutual aid. You know, we're not like the city of Wichita that can call Derby on the east side and they'll be there in 10 minutes. You know, we are stuck out here on our own little island of preservation. We rely on a lot of the small volunteer departments. If they're harvesting, planting, we'll get 1 or 2. You know, because they're trying to get a time in, you know, they've got to get the wheat out of the field in a certain amount of time, or the wheat into the ground in a certain amount of time. But we still rely on them, and then we just pick another volunteer department and try. Holcomb was out there with us. They provided us on the ground manpower, and we were able to work through with the men and equipment that we had.
where did they evacuate?
That was before I got there. When I arrived, we all come down here and came in the main gate. A group of them were going from this area down the road, and I'm sure they have a meeting place which is set up by Tyson in case of an emergency.
So they were well out of the plant?
Yes.
Now, I understood they were on break when this occurred, they weren't on the production floor?
Okay. I don't know, was what Tyson kept telling us, that they were headed to break or on break, and, you know, they take care of their employees.
What's the size of the room?
Chief Sear?
It's, the actual fire room, I'm gonna say, is roughly the size of the room you're sitting in right now. But there's hallways and different stuff that go off of it. It's kind of a little bit of a maze to get in there. But the actual fire room where the equipment is probably a little bit larger than the size room we're sitting in right now.
Other
Anyone else?
questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I guess I'm glad my day at the office doesn't involve my life like your day at the office. We'll now invite our federal representative, Senator Moran, if you'd like to come up, and Roger Marshall, or if you'd like the podium, sir, you're welcome to make comments from here.
I'm fine here. Thank you all very much for allowing me to join you. I'm here to express my gratitude to the fire department and the emergency preparedness, the responders. I'm pleased that once again, the Kansas community has responded in a way that gives us a sense of pride and a sense of well-being for our communities across Kansas. It is humbling to be here as you listen to the chief and know the dangers, the risks, the consequences that could occur in such a circumstance. And to know that the preparedness, the training, the dedication, the commitment to a career, to a job, to care and concern for a community is so great. This has nothing little to do, other than I should explain while I'm in tennis shoes, I broke my ankle. It only has to do with this topic in this way. What I've discovered in a kind of a serious way about having a broken ankle is that no person, no one is self-contained. That none of us can get through life just on our own. We need the help of other people. And this is demonstrated in communities across Kansas all the time. It's certainly demonstrated here in Garden City and Holcomb and Finney County. When there's a challenge, people rise to the occasion. And it's not just, I sometimes think that cities are different than the places that we all come from. It's not just a job, it's not a career, it's not a paycheck. It is about taking care of people that you know, care about, love, and want to make certain that nothing bad happens to them. So my commendation to Garden City and to Holcomb and to Finney County and to the people who made a difference in other people's lives. I also share Dr. Clifford's sentiments about Tyson. I was on the phone Saturday morning with executives in Arkansas as well as people in Washington, D.C. Looking for those words, we will rebuild. I was in Congress representing you when ConAgra had their circumstance, and we waited and we waited. And this is not that is not an outcome that we can afford to have. And I'm very much pleased to learn on Saturday the words were, we will rebuild. And I'm grateful for that kind of attitude. I visited Tyson in Arkansas early in January, earlier this year. We know them well. They're an important component not only in Finney County but across the state. And they have some intentions of additional expansions in our state, and we want to make certain that that relationship is strong. And so we know the CEO of the meat section of Tyson. We know the general manager of the red meats section of Tyson. And again, to have people that I know tell me that this is something that will occur, that the rebuilding will occur, is very pleasing. I would highlight that there's others affected by this fire beyond the borders of Finney County. This is a state, if not a nation, consequence. And nearly a quarter of all beef that is packed in Kansas is brought to this plant. This has a huge consequence to our livestock industry. We have had conversations with USDA to make certain that their inspectors, who are federal employees at this plant, will continue to be employed as well, and they will receive paychecks. And the answer to that question has been yes. That means that if there is capacity to do things, then meat can be inspected. It also means on behalf of our cattlemen who may take their cattle now to Texas or to Nebraska, those employees will be there to inspect that beef and try to get the market back to some normal. So that, and again, Tyson was telling me this is at the moment, a very profitable plant. This is a time at which they need capacity. That again suggests to us the demand is there for packing, and our ranchers and cattle men and women face significant challenges while this plant is down. We've also talked to the folks at the U.S. Department of Transportation because the trucking industry will be hugely impacted by this occurrence. And what we're looking for there is perhaps a waiver of hours of service, so that if you're going to have to haul cattle further distances to Texas or to Nebraska, that you'll be able to do that. We've also had conversations from a Garden City and Holcomb, a Finney County point of view with economic development officials. Tyson tells us they want nothing from us. I like constituents like that, but there is something that we could do to be of help to the company, but to the community. We are prepared to step in any way we can in regard to kind of economic development and labor issues. Matt Allen being in the room, I would highlight the importance that he places, and rightfully so, on the census. And we did make certain that this incident isn't anything that impacts the ability to count citizens of Finney County. There are, again, consequences to that as well. I chair the appropriations subcommittee that funds the U.S. Census Bureau. We should have an ability to be of help to this community. I don't know of a community that is more concerned about getting the census right. Incidentally, I didn't chair that subcommittee 10 years ago when they got it wrong. But Matt and others in this community, if that's another aspect of something that we can do, please let me know. And I appreciate the support of Senator Roberts and Congressman Marshall. I know that the governor sent her team here, as the chairman said. This is something that all of Kansans will rally around Finney County to make sure the consequences are minimized. I was in lots of places over the last couple of days since the fire, and it doesn't matter where you are in Kansas, people are concerned about what has happened at Holcomb Garden City in regard to the IBP plant. So again, it's a reminder that just as we have seen time and time again when there's a challenge, Kansans rally to the well-being of their neighbors, to their friends and family, but also to people they don't even know. And Garden City, Holcomb, Finney County has done it once again. Let me know how I can help, and thank you for the honor of being here and to express my gratitude to all the first responders and the risk that people take on behalf of other people. Thank you for letting me be here.
So now we'll hear from Dr. Roger Marshall.
All right, so, yeah, it's an honor to be here again this morning. I often share with people the pillars of my life are faith, family, community, and education. And without saying anything more, people typically understand faith, family, and education, but they look at me, especially if you're from the East Coast or the West Coast or the big city, what do you mean by community? And what I'm seeing happening here already is what I'm talking about as community. The number of people will rally around this issue, this challenge. This is not the first challenge this community has had come their way. We will rally together and work together, and certainly pledge my allegiance to work with Senator Moran, Senator Roberts, and whatever thing we can do with the federal delegation. You'll see us in lockstep. You'll see our staffs working together. Lana will be a great point person. She's got great relationships with our office here in town. If there's anything we can do, we're literally just a drive down the road. So glad that we have a presence here. Thanks to Tyson, nobody injured. You know, I get really frustrated when I go visit these plants, and the first thing they do is, here's our safety plan, and they said in the event of emergency, this is what we're going to do. So when you're congressman, they make us do the same thing. They do take it seriously. I'm very grateful. Tyson, a business of 85 years of age, over 100,000 employees. We have full confidence in them that they can get this ship righted and back going in the right direction here sooner than later. Appreciate their commitment to the 3,800 and some employees as well. To my first responders, thank you. This always comes close to home to me. My dad was the fire department chief in El Dorado for 5 years before he became the chief of police and the fire chief. And I remember my dad and his troops out there fighting fire overnight. I remember New Year's Eve, them fighting a fire overnight, sleet, rain, cold, frostbit hands. And what I remember the next morning about 7 a.m. is my dad calling my brother and me at home and saying, "Get your asses down here, we need to clean up." And so I know what it's like to scrub those hoses down afterwards and scrub those places down, and that's just what a community does. So thank you. And again, no one was hurt. You contained the fire. There was it transmission fluid? Some type of fluid was oil-based that was a very potential problem. So thanks for containing it, and it wasn't any worse than it was. We all did our job. We all did our job in a moment of crisis. Can appreciate the chief's calmness here. I always said, you don't want to go to a doctor for your heart surgery that does one a week. You don't want your cataract fixed by someone who does one cataract a month. You want someone that's able just to show up in scrubs between cases and then go back to the office and do 12 more cases. So just thank you for everybody. We're here for you. We'll be your biggest supporter. I always, one of the things I learned about this job, and Senator Moran taught me a lot as I watched him do this job, is that one of our jobs is to bring hope to people, that there's always hope. And I learned that as a physician early on too, that no matter how bad the situation was, that there's always hope. And we're here to say that the sun has already come up, it looks like. I'm amazed. And we'll be right there rooting for you. So thanks, I'm very proud to represent this community.
Thank you, Congress Marshall. Ms. Lane, would you like to comment on behalf of Senator Roberts?
Yeah, just briefly, as Lana indicated, the senator offers his regrets for not being able to be here, but most importantly wanted me to really reach out to the first responder community and thank them for all their tireless efforts and hard work, and it just goes on. Been in that business and understand how tough it is, and so he wanted to make sure that you all know that he appreciates that. Also the community for the efforts that the community put forward in helping out, whether it was food or water or whatever the case may have been, and then the commitment from Tyson. As Lana indicated, the senator stands ready to work with the delegation, with Senator Moran, Congressman Marshall, to do all that we can to support the effort, and please reach out to us if we can be of any assistance. So thank you all for allowing us to be a part of this.
Could I mention Reed Petty?
Yes, sir.
Please put Reed Petty to work.
He's the most visible guy I've ever met. He's everywhere. He went out with us Saturday night to Tyson.
So I'm trying to put him to work and you're complimenting him. Way to go, Reed.
Pay me later, Reed. It's always a little dangerous to invite other political leaders to the podium, but part of Dr. Marshall's altered plans was he was to visit my office and surgery center this morning. So we have a date to be back there, I think at 10:30, because he has other obligations. But we are graced by the presence of Senator Dahl, Russ Jennings, John Wheeler. So I'd invite Senator Dahl or John or Russ to come make some comments. John?
I don't know, Chief Collins, when I spoke to him Saturday, I said, welcome to your job. Same with Chief Utes. Right when he started his job, we had the terrorist plot. So I don't know, Matt's gonna have a hard time filling those positions. I think, being a former coach, it's cool when you see everybody work together, and how the federal delegation, the state delegation, and the local delegation, along with Lana and the Chamber of Commerce, all work together. Back in my coaching days, you always try to over-prepare people so when that situation comes that they can react and do the job right, do it better than expected. The training that you guys gave your people it's the same with the terrorist plot, shows that we have great leadership from the top to the bottom. The impact, we keep talking about Tyson, we talk about, the impact is throughout the communities we felt in 2000. So, the grocery store owners and everybody else, but Finney County, we've been through this before and we did well. We're gonna be through it again and we're gonna be better for it. Thank you.
Representative James.
Thanks, Doctor. The chief mentioned mutual aid, mutual assistance, and frankly, in my view, living in a community that neighbors Finney County and Garden City, mutual aid has been a term embraced by the Board of County Commissioners and the City Commission of Garden City as long as I've lived out here. The surrounding communities cannot address something like this fire without the assistance of our neighbors in Garden City. And we thank you for that. Tyson is the largest employer in the area, sits in the middle of my representative district, and I have to tell you, it was a relief, much as the senator mentioned about rebuilding, when I heard from their corporate offices Saturday morning that they would continue to pay their employees, that they value their workforce and wanted to keep them available to go ahead and restart their production. So I would just say, while this sign says "We stand with Tyson," another part of this story is Tyson stands with us and with their employees, and I'm thrilled that they're going to get about getting this building put back together and back to production. And we need to stay out of their way. State government needs to do everything it can, and I will be calling upon the governor to assure that our Department of Transportation, our Department of Health, our Department of Commerce do everything they can to support this effort to get them back online as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Representative Wheeler.
Un poquito. Well, thank you very much. Representative Marshall, thank you for coming. Senator, thank you for coming. I always appreciate your humor. Just wanted you to know. I don't want to take much time because Senator and Representative have waxed so eloquently. I was in Kansas City reading a Facebook post that Tyson plant is on fire and burning to the ground. I didn't sleep much that night. I couldn't get very solid information because social media is not, it's just not reliable. But what I did see are those horrendous fire coming out of the roof of the Tyson plant. And my heart was broken. And I drove home, and I got home late Saturday night. And with a great deal of trepidation, I drove to the Tyson plant Sunday to see the dusty rubble lying there. And to my pleasure, to my satisfaction, to my delight, when I turned around and pulled and looked down to the south from the highway, I couldn't even find where that fire occurred. Chief, well done. I was born and raised in Garden City, Kansas, and I have had the opportunity over decades to work with this group of professional people in these departments and agencies. I knew that they would take care of the task at hand, but I also know this community and these agencies that they will do it by excelling in doing it, and you have. And for that, again, I thank you. As to Dr. Clifford, my first cataract surgery took him 8 minutes. During my second cataract surgery, I'm talking to him saying, hurry up, beat your record. But he didn't, it was 10. But thank you very much, it's a wonderful job, and you need to get the doctor to your clinic. Thank you.
John, I appreciate the shameless plug, but the Medicare is cutting our fees because we're too good at it. So don't tell our federal delegation, how quick your surgeries were. We do have a few minutes for questions, and I'd open the floor to those in attendance or media who might have questions for our federal delegation or state, or local, or chief, anything. Well, I won't hang around too long. Roger, did you have a comment?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Please stay around, hug and congratulate each other. Again, thank you very much to the team, and let's go rebuild Tyson and make our community stronger. Thank you.
That's funny.
Let's have a contest here.